Yeah.
All right, we're all here today. We'll call this Chamber Chat Part 2. And, obviously the lovely Kyla Taylor from Launch and Prosper, the wonderful Norah Fountain from the Muskoka Lakes Chamber of Commerce, and me, as always. So today we are talking about a really cool thing for Small Business Month in October. And you guys have partnered on these workshops that are going on to help small business owners learn a little more, get a little better. So let's get into that. Like I saw like some of the notes coming out from both Kyla and from Norah, like in my inbox, and I'm like, this is really cool. And then Norah and I chatted, and we're like, we got to talk about it on a video for everyone to see. So here we are.
And when you do workshops like this, we get our chamber members, they're asking for workshops and learning opportunities. And yet at the same time, they're running their business. And sometimes it came up in today's workshop, Kyla is talking about how taking other staff shifts and things like that because of staff shortages. So sometimes it's hard to get out there, or you look at it and you think, either maybe you think you could run that workshop, or that you think, but I went to the workshop today. Yeah. And I went, okay, what are we going to talk about? Creative leadership in times of uncertainty. And I walked away with 3 things that I learned. And one of the things I said, 3 things that I learned. But one of them was one that I sort of knew instinctually, but hadn't been acting on. So it's no good if you don't actually do it. It's one thing when you think about it, but if you don't actually carry through. So when you go to workshops like this, it's always a good reminder. You think, well, maybe I can skip it. Don't skip it. Take an hour. These are lunch hour. Come at noon. If you come to my office, I have limited seating, but I'll buy you pizza, because I think it's really important that we share. And afterward, we sat there with 2 other people and just kept kicking things around about what we could do. So let's start with Kyla. Just in general, why don't you talk about, because I'm already talking about the first workshop we had today, so it's really fresh in our mind. So tell us a little bit of what happened in that workshop, and then we'll talk more about the entire small business workshops happening during Small Business Month in Muskoka.
Oh, thanks, Norah. So I thank you, by the way. I'm glad that you pulled something out. Our team wanted to really promote this time as time outside of what you're going to see on social media or outside of what you're going to read on somebody's website, right? Because I'm with you, like, time is essential. Nobody has time. And even the word workshop has its own stigma to it, right? I'm going to give up an hour of my time to attend a boring workshop. And trust me, those that deliver these workshops feel the same way, right? Like our struggle is, how do we deliver content that is going to be relevant and helpful, instead of, we know this. We know this, right? And so, but I think much to what you said about things you already did know, there really is importance in the reminder and the validation, right? So some of our skills as leaders, we know them right off the hop, and we don't validate ourselves enough. And I think that came out in today's presentation. We talked a lot today about people as leaders leading through their own identity as leaders, right? So one of my big pieces of advice to leaders is, you have to fill your own cup. You have to establish your own boundaries. You need to give yourself the grace to lead through uncertainty. And I think what I love the most is that our today's talk wasn't just about all the negative impacts and challenges that businesses are facing, that equal amounts of uncertainty are directly related to growth and expansion opportunities. So I think a lot of people coming into the workshop may have felt that we were maybe going to hash up how to navigate recession time. And I really want to promote that it's time to navigate growth. It's time to growth plan. It's time to project forward and create certainty that there is always a forward momentum in our businesses. So I'm hoping we achieved that today.
So we certainly did. And the other thing is that you took us to that place where we dive deeper into, as leaders, then how do we cultivate those leadership skills in our staff? And how do we use our staff, the people that are on the front lines, to how do we approach them? How do we ask them about what's going on? I mean, we don't want to talk about staff shortages and retention, but that's all part of it. If we all say, we're the team here, but if you're not sharing or you're not taking that feedback, and we had Ian from Duff's Cottages, and he was talking about how sometimes when they have staff, if something negative happens, that staff member might be afraid of coming forward to their boss because they might think it reflects on them, but they can't get better and fix things and thrive unless they know the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So it's creating that space. And sometimes we get wrapped up and we're so busy. And we talked a little bit on onboarding, and I'm trying to onboard someone right now, but I also have a million things in the air. So it falls down, right? But if you don't do that, right, like you want to keep your staff. So the entire workshop series is called Small Business Month Muskoka Cultivate and Thrive. So not are you only cultivating your own skills, but as you're cultivating your whole experience about what your offer is, and then how to thrive. And we even talked, oh my gosh, months ago now, when we first decided to do this, that, are we going to talk about the R word? I said, I don't ever want to say recession, because we've been talking about recession for 18 years since the last one. And maybe that's going to happen, but you can thrive in any economic cycle. And it's all about taking that step back, leaning in, learning a little bit, you can go forward. So today was creative leadership in times of uncertainty, and we covered a lot of that. Our next one has the word money in it. It usually attracts people, but there is no such thing as free money. So these loans, these grants, where do you get them from? And we're pleased that the Business Development Bank of Canada, BDC, is sponsoring and going to come on. We'll have a rep talking about how they share and help businesses, and they have a lot of advisory services too that would be complementary or to what Kyla has. But they have a lot of services, but we need somebody that's right here on the ground in Muskoka doing that. So, but we appreciate them. And then after that, we really switch gears and we go to, you're not really alone. You might feel that way, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're the leader at the top, or you're a solopreneur. So the next one is from flying solo to leading a team for micro businesses. So what about, we have so many artisans and we have so many people doing business on their own. In fact, I just hired one. I hired one who, has been working remotely for the last 4 years, and she was just so happy to see people. But there are many solopreneurs out there, and they're making big changes in Muskoka. So that's something that we're going to explore on October 23rd. And then we're going to wrap it up in a culminating, which is, sort of what comes next. It's called Facing the Future, Growth Planning with Confidence. And that's where I said that has to be in any economic cycle. Let's talk about it all. Yeah. So if you're worried about what's coming, but and others really thrive. Like, there were some COVID lemonade moments. Yes, it's gone, but some of them did, some people changed, they geared up, they got digital, and made some major changes and set themselves off in a whole new trajectory of success. Yeah. Others are kind of still wanting to roll back into the other way of doing things, and that may work for them. But, we have to realize that things are changing, but of that uncertainty can grow some really great opportunities.
No, for sure. Now, when you guys decided to collaborate on these workshops, on this series as part of Small Business Month, what were some of your motivating factors to do it?
Do you want to go first, or will I? Want me to kick off? Okay. So first of all,
yeah, sure, Norah.
When you're a member of a chamber, you're not joining the chamber, you're joining the business community overall. Yeah. And our overall goal is prosperity for all. So it's the only time when trickle down might actually work, right? But if you're going to join the community, it shouldn't always be one way coming at you. So I looked around and I looked, okay, who have we got in business advisory? We have some members. Launch and Prosper had brought some people in that I knew better than I knew Kyla. And so I reached out to them and said, listen, why don't you this is your thing. You are the experts. You moderate our panels. We'll promote it and we'll bring you members. And let's see how, support the community. It's not just a one-way thing. Yeah. The chamber can't be the be all and end all of everything. We can't, I know a lot, I have to admit. But but I don't know everything just like everybody. So I looked at Kyla and I said, let's roll with this. And Caitlin Cook she's worked on the social media. She even went into my Eventbrite and set up all the settings and just made it really easy for me. So maybe there's a motivation there, but it's also about how do we share? Because we need to be each lifting each other up. We have to be able to lean on each other. And if it's all just one way, it's never going to work. It has to be community.
It's true. It's very true. What about you, Kyla? So, Norah and you are talking, and there's these workshops, and you're like, I mean, I know you love sharing what you learn with as many people as you possible, which is why you always have something on the go and some sort of informative, posts and newsletter items. But this
Yeah.
opportunity to do the workshop, what really kind of motivated you to get into it?
Well, I think, for, just to also speak highly of Norah, it's so refreshing when you're able to collaborate with a center of influence that is proactive, right? It oftentimes in rural communities and small towns, our center of influences, our local business centers, our chambers, they're very, very busy on the ground, but they're not necessarily on the ground doing the outreach. And so
Sure.
we're no strangers to small business being what's the word I'm looking for? Small business owners don't have time to normally execute. We know this. There's a 60% gap between strategy and execution, period. So when we find a community partner that is working hard to narrow the gap between strategy and execution, we get excited, right? So I think that was the first exciting piece. And the other piece is like, again, it's aligning. We're well aligned with Muskoka Lakes Chamber of Commerce because we are serving many of the same members. The membership and our client base are very similar. We have a broad service funnel of mid-sized businesses, nonprofit organizations. We still have programs that support the micro businesses as well. So we're no stranger to the challenges they're facing. And I think for us, it's part of our corporate responsibility is to be invested and giving back into the communities where we function. So for us, I believe that business literacy needs to be more available. And we need to continue to bring these types of conversations into this format so that we're not selling gloss. We're not selling the magazine gloss. We're having very real conversations, and we're inviting real feedback from real people who are in the operations of their business.
I like it. That's awesome.
I think there's also, Muskoka Small Business Month started quite a ways back. So BDC had a Small Business Week, which was always the third week in October. This year, starts our day is October 16th. That's the Monday. So that's Small Business Week. That grew into Small Business Month. In the States, they call it Small Business Season. So, and here we are with all of these SMEs, these small and medium-sized enterprises. And what happens in October? Well, we have Cranberry Festival, and we have Oktoberfest, and we have right behind me all of this color. And so we get really wrapped up, and tourism is still our number one economic driver, but there is no environment without a good economy.
Yes.
And we tend to think about, so our environment, people are going to come up and they're going to look at our trees, and they're going to, RTO, Explorer's Edge, is talking about regenerative tourism. We want to make sure that when people are walking through the parks, that they're also very respectful of them and all that sort of thing. So I just thought we're really missing something. Nobody is, I'm going to say it, we wanted to own Muskoka Small Business Month in Muskoka, and we should, because Chambers are supposed to be the business of voice. So we should own Small Business Month. Things need to be happening during Small Business Month. And so while
Yes.
we look at this beautiful color around us, we also have to think about what this is the time of year where some of our businesses start to have to slow down. They don't have the staff. There's different challenges going on. It's also the time where some of them can maybe take a breath, although we're very busy with visitors, to think about what is going to come next. I'm going to tell you, when it gets to December and January, a lot of them head south to just they have to unwind,
Yeah.
get recharged, right? So I just thought we really should be doing something, and so we are. And I really want to push, because I keep hearing the environment's the most important thing, and then but you won't have a good environment if you don't have a strong economy to support
True.
it. So while we're supporting tourism in fall colors, which of course I love, we also need to be supporting our businesses, and this is one way we can do it.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a great point, Nora, because every time I'm reading and watching just videos and informative things from around the world, you see like that great point about combining a strong economy with a strong environment. Strong economies, people working, people owning their own businesses, owning their own homes, feeling secure in their life, will then begin to take care of everything around them, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People who are not people who don't have those opportunities, people who don't have that economy, that confidence, that security, stop taking care of everything because they're just worried about getting through a day. And so I think
Yeah.
that's such an excellent point you made about, we have a strong economy. Our environment will then be taken care of by the people who want to keep that economy going, want to keep that way of life that they've become accustomed to in great shape. And that includes the trees and the watershed and everything else around us. So no, that's an excellent point.
Another
other
thing that
thing-
happens. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yep.
Oh no, I was gonna say, like, as I see your beautiful background, I think we need to also, the one thing that I have been really dedicated to is creating an economy where our talent pool can come back. So we have incredible brains in Muskoka and the North. And what happens is our kids leave and they go off, and we lose that talent pool because there's a lack of opportunity. And so I have this desire to build, to work, and we don't often, people say small business and they just assume we're full of mom and pop businesses, but a small business effectively is an organization that houses up to 100 employees.
Yeah.
You can have a small business making $20 million revenue a year. We're not talking about just the mom and pop shops that are barely scratching the surface to make $1 million in revenue. So I want people to take notice that these businesses exist. The second point I was going to make that's part and parcel of this is, while we are a tourism economy, we are a tourism affected region, that is not our only industry. And oftentimes we're treated as though tourism is what is driving the local economy. But the truth is, we have a huge diversity. We have manufacturing, we have retail, we have professional services, we have trades, construction. We have an incredible cross section of industry, and they all need to be served. And I think there's oftentimes a leaning towards our tourism industry servicing the business resources that are required by that particular industry. And I say, let's open the stage for all sectors of business to gain resources and insights.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point, because we do tend to lean, like even as someone who works, volunteers on the board of a not-for-profit, when we're talking about getting funding for things, building new infrastructure we need for our recreational community, and when I'm talking to other sports organizations, when we're talking about that, we're always looking at it as, we have to pitch this from a tourism angle. How many beds and heads, all that stuff, right? That's what we look at when we're trying to pitch the ideas, because and the worst part is we shouldn't have to, because our communities have grown so much We should be able to just say, this is good for the community and the people who live here year round. This is good for our families. This is good for our seniors. This is good for our youth. This is good for everybody. This is good for the people who work year round and live here year round. We shouldn't always have to pitch it to be a tourism thing. So that goes to that too, is we always think about that no matter what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think we need to get away from it, not completely, but I think it, you know, it has its spot. It's still probably the largest driver, but it's not the only driver of the economy, and we need to start looking at it from different angles. I really like that point that you make, Kyla. And just from a personal perspective of seeing the way we do things and what I have to pitch when I'm doing proposals for things that we need. And I always have to think about that, and I shouldn't have to. And that's a good point.
Thanks.
We have
I
to
like
do a
making good
podcast on
points
the people
sometimes.
pipeline. We have to do a podcast on the people pipeline, how tourism acts as a key economic driver, but then everything else, you know, so it is still a key driver here.
Sure,
but of course, the
100%.
largest employers are contracting, but people wouldn't be building cottages and renovating and things if they weren't coming here in the first place. It goes, we're going to do one. We'll do the people pipeline podcast. I can't say that.
There
say
you
it
go.
fast. And we'll talk about how that works and how it all does fit in together, because, and I love it when people, I would challenge everyone and I'll say, well, you could be a tourist in your own backyard. And
True, you can.
Business. And when some people get really huffy about that. And I always throw out, have you ever been to Bear Cave? Because I've lived in Muskoka Lakes my entire life. Although away for school, we invest in these kids when they go away. But I have never yet been to Bear Cave. And so as long as I have not been to Bear Cave, I am still a tourist in Muskoka Lakes. So that's, I'm going to get there. I better get there soon because these colors are going to change. And by being a tourist in another area or finding a new store or finding a new service provider, I'm supporting the economy. So we can still tie it together on
It's
a
true.
kind of view, but they have to be equally important. And that sometimes we lose sight of that. And thank you for bringing that up, Chris. So what I was going to tag on to that was that also as of today, the minimum wage goes up.
Yes.
And for businesses, so we know what happens in October. So when we know it's coming, we have time. And I really want to get clear, because some people think, oh, those right-wing businesses, they don't want, no, we want our people to stay. We want our people to thrive.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about, cultivate and thrive. What we don't like is if something happens suddenly, because we can't ramp up as fast as we don't have a whole HR department or something to deal with the changeover in everybody's payroll. But
exactly.
when we're coming like we do in October, that's a good thing. We should all be prepared for it. And people in a lot of our industries are making more money today. So I think that's a good thing. And we can certainly we're going to talk about no free money on October 16th at noon.
There you go.
Well, and I think the nugget for that too, and it's no free money really came up. I will share a little insider secret. I have a commercial banking background, right? As part of my toolbox. And I work with a ton of federal and provincial funders, as well as my previous banking career. And oftentimes people think of grants as free money, but there's often a portion of a grant that is repayable, right? So 75% be covered, but there's a 25% skin in the game that they require. So on top of the work it takes to get that money, there's a lot of elbow grease that goes into that. So the real buzzword is investment readiness, right?
Yes.
Are you investment ready? Are you actually capable of going after these funds? Do you know how to fill out the application and go through the process? And can you demonstrate the capacity to use those funds to generate results that link back to the purpose of the fund in the first place? So I'm kind of giving some of it away right now, sorry. But I think I want business owners to join who want to get better at attracting investment into their business in order to grow. And we have worked with BDC. BDC has some incredible business arrangements, supports in place, different types of financial capital to work with clients. They also have incredible intellectual services, in terms of their own consultants and consulting services. And they're not the only ones. There's a whole host of other outside of normal financial institutions that are here to help strengthen businesses as well. So my hope, our input into that, is truly to help people know what it takes to get to a place where they can actually growth plan, because they know how to attract the right investment.
I like it. That's awesome. And you're right, because I mean, you and I, having tried to go through some of this process to look for grants and stuff, it's so hard to find ones that fit each business. You always have to have that investment capital. So I love that there's no free money. There isn't. Like, it's not, you have to have something to go in. There's sweat equity you got to put in before you even get to that point. But then once you put all that in, there are opportunities for you to get to the next level using some of these grants and everything. I'm sure that will be a very informative chat, and that's October 15th, I think you said, right? Is that the date? What's the date?
Right, Norah?
What's
October
the date?
16th. I wonder if I can, I think I have the QR code on a material. Maybe I can just share screen for a second. I'll see if I can pull that QR code. So if anybody just wants to scan it so they can register, let's see if this work for us at all. I'm gonna lose. Oh, there's our.
There we go.
Conversation going on. How come I can see our chat though? I'm trying
to.
Yeah,
it's okay. Our chat's on the side. It's supposed to be.
Okay. Oh, that's okay. All right. So, I don't have the QR code on this one.
That's okay, but there's a lot of info, and I'll make sure that I will share the link to everything as I'm sharing our chat, so everyone has the link and they can click on it and sign up, and they can get all their information.
Can you still see that? Yeah. So if people just remember Small Biz Month Muskoka.ca, it's going to come to Launch and Prosper, and you're going to see all the information that you need, and to come into the no such thing as free money, and to some of these other workshops as well. So I'll stop the share. Thank you so much, Kyla, for doing all this work to prepare all this for us. We're very excited.
Oh, I'm so excited.
That's awesome. Thanks. That's awesome. So on that note, do we have any other mentions that we want to shoot out there? Because I know our time, we tried to keep it under a certain time today, and we're almost at that time limit.
I know, it's short and sweet.
No, it's great.
I'll just do a pitch for Oktoberfest Muskoka.ca. I want to see you in Lederhosen and in a Dirndl, Kyla, or vice versa, whatever floats your boat. And we're going to have fun October 20th to 22nd. We're doing a big kickoff. We're trying to do something miraculous and get all 6 mayors in to tap the keg for the official opening ceremony.
Wow.
That would be fun.
Check out Oktoberfest Muskoka.ca. And while you're doing that, think about how you need to lean in and learn for your business, and go to MuskokaSmallBizMonth.ca too. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. We'll see everybody soon. Chris. Bye for now.
Bye.